Yeah, the Bible. Well, he's not wrong. Proverbs. Okay, so who is the human inspired writer of Proverbs as far as we know? Solomon for the most part. And who was Solomon? King, son of David. And so we studied about when he became king and what was unique about his first interactions with God afterwards. Yeah, the Lord asked him what he wanted. All the rest of it. So if God asks us, what do we want? What would we say? Would we say wisdom or would we say something else? Yeah, it may not be the foremost thing on our mind, but if you put ourselves in the place of Solomon, here he's the leader of the Hebrews. He was only, what was it, 20 years old? Yeah, 20-ish. And he didn't have a lot of understanding about how to deal with people and how to deal with all the situations that he was going to confront being the leader of the Hebrews. And so he asked for help. And the Lord said he would grant him wisdom and all the rest. And so we saw a lot of the rest of what that means. And so you could say that Solomon was, obviously Jesus was wiser than Solomon, but as far as people that walked the earth, Solomon was certainly one of the wisest ones, and God had given him the wisdom. And also he's one of the richest people on the earth. And so when we think about riches, how much money somebody has, and you look at the time that Solomon lived in, I wouldn't even know how to value what he had as far as the dollar value of it. And here we are in Proverbs, and out of all of the things that he had seen and all the things he had experienced, he's giving us the context of what are the most important things for us to know. And so we're hearing it from the context. Sometimes we think, oh, if I just had, $100 more a week, or if I just had whatever, then, life would be awesome. And Solomon here is trying to help us get ourselves grounded to the bigger picture and what should our relationship with God be, and make that a priority versus just the day-to-day, everything we run into all the time. And so we've already studied a few chapters already, and I did give out, let me go find that. I did give out kind of an outline of Proverbs, showed all the topics. Oh, I know why it's not there. It's at home. Whoops. Sorry about that. So if you look at all the topics in Proverbs, there's a good list of those, and I did hand those out from before. And it's a good list, and I do like it because it does show sort of all the things that are going to be covered. I do have some with my notes today, so I'll let you guys have that one. Sure thing. So he covers a lot of topics in there, and just a reminder of some of the ones we've covered already. So we've covered the purpose of Proverbs, the theme, the importance of avoiding bad company, heeding wisdom's advice, avoiding the adulteress, trusting and honoring God. We did spend some time on that last week because we got behind, and we had to cover that one because we couldn't skip it. Covering the value of wisdom and being kind and generous to others. We also studied acquiring wisdom, avoiding bad company, again, watching yourself. And this is our own behavior, forsaking lust. That was in chapter 5. And chapter 6, we didn't talk about this one last week because we got a little bit behind. It talks about avoiding surety. So what is surety? It's not a terminology we use that much today, I don't think. So like a loan or something, or someone wants to buy a house or whatever, we co-sign for them that we're responsible for that debt or whatever it is. And so here it says avoid that. So if have we ever been in that situation before where somebody said, hey, I want to buy a new car, I want you to co-sign with me? Yes, yeah, yeah, you get in that situation. I know for our kids, I think everybody does. You get in that situation where you don't have the money at the moment for everything, so you do have to take a loan on something. But this is saying, my son, if thou be surety for thy friend, if thou hast stricken thy hand with a stranger, there art snared with the words of thy mouth, there art taken with the words of thy mouth. And so there's all kinds of people. You can walk down this street without probably getting to the end of it, and somebody's going to ask you for money or say, hey, if you just give me $100 right now, I'll turn this into 1,000 next week. You know, we don't have to go very far to see those kind of people, and I don't know that that's really called surety in those examples, but we do have people all the time that want to get into business dealings with us, and we should be very wise in our dealings with people. We should seek the Lord and see what the Lord recommends that we do in those situations. We didn't talk about shunning laziness. That was from last week also. It says, go to the ant, thou sluggard, consider her ways, and be wise, which having no guide, overseer, or ruler, provideth her meat in the summer and gather her food in the harvest. And so we see that, and I don't know what it is about YouTube. It's like you watch one video, then you would want to watch another one, and then another one. Next thing you know, it's like there's an hour gone right there. So we saw one that had an ant that was pulling a feather, a bird's feather, by itself. And you think, how can an ant have the strength to do that? And so much more than its own weight, it's able to lift, it's able to carry, it's able to do. Anytime you've probably all been to a picnic where, yeah, you had all this food out, and the next thing you know, there's ants all over the place. Where'd they come from? And it seems like there's just hundreds of them because they sense that there's food there, and they definitely want food, and so they're going to do whatever they're going to do. We were in Houston working in some office there, and we were going to go get lunch, and they said, oh, we'll just walk across this field. And they said, oh, don't walk over there. I was like, well, what's that? They said, well, those are the fire ants. I was like, what do you mean, that mound of dirt? Yeah, that's a fire ant mound right there. If you were to walk right next to that, you'd have all these fire ants. And I was like, okay, thanks for telling me. I probably would have walked right through the middle of it, not thinking anything about it. But those are not just, yeah, lots of white blisters, yeah. So it's not just work that they do. They also get pretty excited about the work that they do, and if you're not careful, you'll get yourself in trouble. There are a list of things that the Lord does hate, and if you look at Proverbs 6 and 16, these 6 things does the Lord hate, yea, 7 are an abomination unto him: a proud look, a lying tongue, and hands that shed innocent blood, a heart that deviseth wicked imaginations, feet that be swift in running to mischief, a false witness that speaketh lies, and he that soweth discord among brethren. Okay, so those are 7 things that the Lord doesn't like, and how far do we have to look to see any of those things happening? Do we have to look very far? Not really, right? Yeah, it's ourselves, right? We do it ourselves. That's one of the reasons it's in here, is sometimes this is us. And so the reason this is here is for the Lord admonishing us that these are the things that the Lord hates. And whether our government, our society, or pop culture says, hey, this is all good, it doesn't matter to God. God has God's law, and God has his ways, and man can come up with all kinds of ideas. We come up with a better way, or we know better than God does, but it doesn't really work. And so all these things that we see here, it says that the Lord considers an abomination, which means we should do the opposite of what all these things say. It's pretty straightforward. Also, we've studied avoiding adultery, avoiding the harlot, and then now here we are up to chapter 8, which is today. So if we could, would somebody read Proverbs chapter 8, verses 1 through 21? Thank you, Sister Joanne. So we've already studied the harlot in the city, and some of these same things we've seen there too, where she will be there in the midst of the city in a high place, crying out with a loud voice, and all the same sorts of things as wisdom. So I don't know that we ever necessarily think of wisdom and sin and competition with each other, but that's kind of how it shows here. There's two paths. You can go one way or you can go another way. One way is towards sin and another way is towards wisdom. And it says here, doth not wisdom cry, and understanding put forth her voice? She's standing in the top of the high places, by the way in the place of the path. She crieth at the gates, at the entry of the city, and in the coming of the doors. And so where would you go to understand or to find wisdom? Yeah, you would go to God. And where's God? God is everywhere around us. So sometimes we just have to pay attention. If somebody's telling you, well, if you just give me $1,000, this is going to give you 10,000 next week. Maybe the first question is, okay, so I'm not going to give you any money. Show me how that works. And they won't be able to show you because that's the fool's way of going. And you'll see what happens to those people that do it if you pay attention long enough. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we see the parable of the sower comes up many different times. What you reap is what you sow. And so we see a lot of things where people are going to say, oh, well, you do this it's going to work out this way. But that's not what we see from the Bible. We don't see that. You're not going to plant one thing and harvest another thing. It says that many different places. So if we put our hard work and effort into something, we follow God's teachings, especially studying what would He have us to do. We go through the Bible in 10 years through our Sunday school, and you think, well, after 10 years, I guess I pretty much know the whole Bible, right? Not really. We don't. And so I think I've been, what is this, the fourth time? I've lost track. But I learn more every time, not less. I actually learn more every time we go through it. And I think it's because I understand things better altogether. I understand the Lord a lot better than I did before. And as I read and study the words here, I know what He's talking about. If you don't do it this way, this is what's going to happen. And I've had that experience of what happens if you don't follow the way the Lord wants you to go. And so it's not somebody saying, you need to think about this because this might happen in the future. Well, yeah, a lot of this happened to me already, so I know from experience. And of course, we want to try to help people, right? And teach people, especially our children, hey, pay attention to this. This is really important. And sometimes children will listen and they'll learn. Other times, my own children say, hey, Dad, no offense, but I just want to have my own experiences and learn, some stuff. Like, okay, there's lots of ways to learn. We can all learn. So, yes. Mm-hmm. 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 And there's work we have to do. It's not like we're magically touched and suddenly we know everything, right? As you said, we have to study, we have to pay attention, we have to look at what's around us. There's so many lessons you can learn from just looking at things around you. You can see people making mistakes all the time. We're the ones making mistakes a lot of the time. We can see what happens in those situations. If you go to all you can eat buffet and you eat too much, you don't feel very good afterwards. And so you learn from that experience and you say, well, next time I don't think I'm going to do that. That's how we learn some things. Other things we can learn by watching other people. We can learn by reading the Bible, and it's not one of those things. It's all those things taken together. And when the Lord says here through Solomon that wisdom is everywhere, it just means we have to pay attention. We just have to see what's going on. Look at medicine today and where we are. You know, it wasn't the doctors that are here that created all of the things related to physiology and all that. They observed what God created, and the treatments that they give are the things that they give because they know that it works. And so they've tried lots of different things. This works better than that works. We know how bodies work from observing people's bodies and how they react to different treatments. And so over time, we've been very fortunate from a medical perspective. The treatments have been getting better and better because those people paid attention. When we do this, it works. When we do this, it doesn't work. And God is in it. I'm not saying God isn't there at all. In fact, it's exactly the opposite because we're all created by God. And it's our observations of what God's created and our understanding that helps us. Going back to the farmer, you reap what you sow. When we do it the way the Lord tells us to do it, we can reap the harvest. But when we don't do it the right way, then we're not going to. And sometimes we do everything right and it doesn't work anyway, right? That happens too. And Lord teaches us how to handle those situations by having patience. Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah. Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah, and his wives, yeah, his wives and concubines kind of dragged him into that, and he had 1,000. I forgot the number of wives plus number of concubines, but it's about 1,000 altogether. But it's such a great point. The discipline is not what you do one time; it's what you're committed to do, right? We're going to read through the Bible one time and understand it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, those are good points, and the discipline aspect of it really is it's not about a short-term commitment. It's really a longer-term commitment, a commitment to follow God, a commitment to read what it says and to follow it, and the righteousness part of it. That's if we know it and we understand it and we follow it. That's the righteousness part, is following it. Lord gives us a choice. We're saved or not saved based on our own choice. It's not God saying, well, you can't be saved, whatever. It's quite the opposite. The Lord says, yeah, you can be saved, but here's what you have to do. We're expected to show righteous works, but it's not works for salvation. It's works to show that we're saved. And if we can look at James and see a lot more about all of that, of course. Okay, let's go for the next one here. If somebody would read chapter 8, verses 22 to 31.
said when he set the compass upon the face of the depth. When he established the clouds above, when he strengthened the fountains of the deep, when he gave to the seas his decree that the waters should not pass, his commandment, when he appointed the foundations of the earth. When I was by him as one brought up with him, I was daily his delight, rejoicing always before him, rejoicing in the habitable part of his earth, and my delight shall be the sons of men. End of it.
Thank you, Sister Doris. I know she didn't go for extra credit this morning and read any extra lines. No, you're good. No, you're good. Thank you. That's great. So wisdom is a creation. So you think, well, wisdom, where did that come into play? It was there at the very beginning. That's where wisdom was. Yeah, right. It was all there. And so I work at a company where we do a lot of engineering, right? And so when we engineer or design things, whatever, it's all based on best practices, it's based on lessons learned, it's based on so many things. And I think of God as like the perfect engineer. I mean, he is, not only did he create all the things that we see, he created the material that it was made from in the first place. And so we have a lot of engineers that create things out of what's already here, but they don't create matter out of nothing the way God did. But the wisdom was here from the very beginning, and we can see it in all the things that we see. Just look around us. Just look at God's creation, whether it's the sun or the moon or the stars or the plants or the animals or whatever it is. Or if you look at the earth and the ecosystem, and I think of the earth as just a big machine that the Lord created, because it's a thing that continues to cycle. If you look at the cycle of the calendar and the cycle of each of the months and all those sorts of things, those are all things that God created. And to do all that, he had to have wisdom. Look how long it's lasted already. And we don't know anything about how long it's going to last. That's how much big. Yeah, we've definitely messed with it. That's for sure. We've done all kinds of things to try to mess it up. A lot of the earth has a kind of a self-healing quality to it, but not necessarily all of it. But wisdom was here from the very beginning, and everything that the Lord did, that God did at the beginning, was with wisdom. And so when we seek to find wisdom to help us in what we do, we should know that God treasures wisdom as much as we should. Okay, let's read verses 32 through 36.
Hear instruction and be wise. Watching daily and looking, for whoso findeth me findeth life, and shall obtain favor of the Lord. But he that sinneth against me wrongeth his own soul. All they that hate me love death.
Thank you, Sister Debbie. So in these last few verses here of this chapter, we're really seeing what are the benefits of seeking and applying wisdom, and then what are the disadvantages? What's going to happen if we ignore it altogether and we just do whatever we want to do, or we think, oh, we got it all figured out. We don't need to pay attention to what God says about anything. We don't need to worry about it. We're experienced enough, old enough, however you want to say it, and we're just going to do whatever we're going to do, and it'll be just fine. That attitude is the attitude that gets so many people into trouble, regardless of whatever age they are. Hear instruction and be wise, and refuse it not. You ever talk to like a 2-year-old? Do they follow this Do they hear instruction and be wise and refuse it not? Do you see that? Is that a normal behavior? Not really, right? Sometimes they do, but definitely not always. And so that's our nature. When we see how it is with a 2-year-old, that's not how old we are today, but that's definitely the nature that's inside of us, is to refuse instruction and do it some other way. Blessed is the man that heareth me, watching daily at my gates, waiting at the post of my door. That's the discipline comment you're making earlier, that we can't just go seek wisdom one time and we got to figure it out now. We read that chapter, we read that verse. Okay, now we're good. We're on our way. Just leave that behind us. It's exactly the opposite. Is we should be seeking wisdom every single day. We should be seeking the Lord's will and the Lord's intent for us, and how can we better serve Him in whatever we're doing. And I don't know, when the Lord says only worry about the today, basically, that's wise as well, right? We don't need to worry about tomorrow, next week, next month, next year, all that sort of stuff, like I normally do. My mother-in-law used to do all the time too. We used to talk about that a lot, in the nature of worrying. We were both, I probably still am a worrier, but we would worry because we'd say, well, how's this going to work out? And then the answer is trust in the Lord. That's the answer. And when we trust in the Lord takes that worry and concern away from us, and He gives us peace if we let Him. But that's wisdom too, is letting it go and letting the Lord take control. That's hard to do. Okay, so we have 2 more chapters to cover. One is a little bit shorter than the other. So the woman of foolishness. So this is chapter 9. Would somebody like to read chapter 9, verses 1 through 18?
She had killed her beast and had mingled her wine. She had also furnished her table. She had sent forth her babes. She cried upon the highest places of the sea. Whoso is simple, let him turn in hither. As for him that wanted understanding, she said to him, come, eat of my bread, and drink of the wine which I have mingled. Forsake the foolish and live, and go in the way of understanding. He that reproveth the scorner getteth to himself shame. He that rebuketh the wicked man getteth himself a blot. Reprove not a scorner, lest he hate thee. Rebuke a wise man, and he will live up. Give instruction to a wise man, and he will be yet wiser. Teach a just man, and he will increase in learning. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the Holy is understanding. For by me the days shall be multiplied, and the years of thy life shall be increased. If thou be wise, thou shalt be wise for thyself. But if thou scornest, thou alone shalt bear it. A foolish woman blameless, she is simple and knowing nothing. For she sitteth at the door of her house, on a seat in the high places of the city, to call passengers who go right on their way. Whoso is simple, let him turn in hither. And as for him that wanted understanding, she saith to him, stolen waters are sweet, and bread eaten in secret is pleasant. But he knoweth that the dead are there, and that her guests are in the depth of hell.
Thank you, Sister Helen. And so here we are looking at, like Brother Mike was saying, wisdom is identified as a woman. And then we also see the opposite path is also identified as a woman as well. Initially here, wisdom hath builded her house. She had hewn out her 7 pillars. So what does that mean, 7 pillars? What's the significance of that? Large house? Yeah, big house. house that has everything, pretty much. She hath killed her beast, she had mingled her wine, she had furnished her table. So not only do they have a house that's fit for many people, they also are ready to provide for people, right? She has sent forth her maidens, she cried upon the highest place in the city. Whoso is simple, let him turn in hither. As for him that wanteth understanding, she saith to him. So what do we have to seek wisdom or to find wisdom? Does it cost money? Do we have to have a certain stature? Do we have to be a religious leader? Do we have to be some special person born into some family or whatever to have wisdom? Yeah, a desire. So here this says, who is simple, let him turn in hither. The implication is you don't have to have anything other than willingness, right? You can just show up as you are. You don't hear anybody say, well, I'm going to get ready to get some wisdom, so I'm going to go do these 10 things first, and then I'll be ready. You don't hear too many people say that. But when you are looking for wisdom, and you are searching for it, it is something that will take some time. Yeah.
All of this that's talking about fill the beast, mingle the wine, also furnish the table. She's preparing to have guests.
Yeah.
Some of us tend to wait for rush around trying to take care of things, but this is very intentional.
Yeah.
Too oftentimes in life, we don't have that focus that we're intentional about all that we do to do what God would have us to do in our lives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Willingness to learn. So here's wisdom. Wisdom's ready. That's the implication here. Wisdom is ready right now. If we desire and seek wisdom, wisdom is ready to go. And we just have to have a willingness to do it and the discipline, as we were talking about. Come eat of my bread and drink of the wine which I have mingled. Forsake the foolish and live, and go in the way of understanding. So when we forsake the foolish, we make decisions. When you have wisdom, is just like you were describing earlier, it's not just the knowledge. Well, I know the wise way. I know what I should be doing. I know I should do this and I shouldn't do that, but I'm going to do the wrong thing anyway for whatever reason. In the case of Solomon, because of his 1,000 wives and concubines, whatever. But here it also says, forsake the foolish and live, and go in the way of understanding. So it's wisdom is affecting our behavior. It's not just knowledge or understanding or whatever. It's seeking righteousness in God's way and taking that path. So it's taking what we learn, applying it, and going the other direction than we may have gone in the first place. And the next portion here, he that reproveth a scorner getteth to himself shame, and he that rebuketh a wicked man getteth himself a blot. So what does that mean? Yeah. Right. You ever try to give advice to somebody and say, no thanks. I'm good to go. I don't need anything. Okay, brother might come up here, give us a demonstration. No, we're all like that, right? We're all like that. I'm not going to single out Brother Mike. We all do that. But we need to be mindful. All these things we're reading in the Bible, we should see ourselves in these situations. These are not for ancient people living in ancient times. These are for us living today. And so he that reproveth a scorner, that's us trying to correct someone that's on the wrong path. And what they may be telling us is, you don't understand. I want to be on the wrong path. How many people have you run into like that? Oh yeah, I know this is not the right path, but this is what I decided to do, so that's what I'm going to do. Sometimes you think it's by accident. Oh, you just don't understand what's going to happen if you do this. oh yeah, no, I understand. I'm just going to do it anyway. And sometimes I'm surprised. I'm like, really? You're like that? Um, I don't know. I love my parents, and my parents were saved. They both were smokers, and Dad smoked a pack of Pall Mall cigarettes pretty much every day, and my mom smoked a lot as well. And they both had really difficult times. They're not here today. They both passed away in their early 70s uh, because of complications that resulted from that. And so at the time they were smoking, all these things were coming out about the health and the dangers and all that sort of thing. And I think by that time it was just part of the way they lived. And like, okay, well, no, that's what I do. I do smoke and I enjoy it, and that's what I'm going to do. And there's going to be some result from it. And so that's what happened. Kind of the parable of the sower thing. Things happen uh, in a way that God has set up, and whatever we do will result in whatever we reap is what we'll sow. And so for the scorner, so when we reprove a scorner, we get to our self shame. Should we not do anything? Does that mean we should just forget about people that do that? Try to give somebody some advice or something about something, they say, oh, you don't know what you're talking about, or I'm not doing that, or whatever it is. How about praying for them? We can pray for them, right? We can just say, okay, I can't really have an impact, but the Lord can, and pray for that person, and maybe that can make a difference. Yeah. There's another opportunity. Reprove not a scorner lest he hate thee. Reprove a wise man, and he will love thee. Somebody tap you on the shoulder. Hey, I know you're doing this way, but this way would be a lot better. That ever happened to you? Definitely happened to me. Yeah. I've had people say, do you know there's a lot easier way to do this? Like, what do you mean? And they'll show me. I was like, yeah, that's a lot easier way than I was doing it. Thanks for telling me. Hopefully I said that. Sometimes I didn't say it that way and realized they were right all along and I wasn't paying attention. Give instruction to a wise man and he will be yet wiser. Teach a just man and he will increase in learning. This could even be simple stuff. Like my father-in-law, he was a watchmaker, and I was trying to reset my watch. It one of those things that I guess it's one of those that you had to wind it up or something. Had the wrong date on it. It was showing the date, and so I was like, "How do you do this?" He said, "Oh yeah, here's how you do it." He told me. I was like, "Wow, this takes a long time to do it this way." And he'd just shake his head, you know. I think I tried 2 or 3 other ways, and yeah, the way he said to do was right. I just didn't do it that way, but I know now that's exactly how you do it. So he was teaching me. I wasn't necessarily paying attention, but I learned later. It was a blessing. The fear of the Lord is beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the holy is understanding. And so, seeking the Lord. What's the point of having all these riches? What's the point of having all this status, everything else, if you don't have God in your life? You see stories and things every day. People are looking for something, right? They can be the richest people on the earth, and they're still looking for something, and they're not satisfied. They're not satisfied because they don't have God, and they don't know God. And so if you know God and you have God in your life, then you can figure out, okay, well, what's really important? And having gold, rubies, all that other stuff piled up just gives you a lot of worries. But if we follow what the Lord wants us to do, if we use whatever talent, skills, and abilities we have for His benefit and for the benefit of expanding the kingdom of God, then the Lord will bless us and we'll have peace that everybody is looking for. Everybody's looking for peace, but people aren't finding it outside of God. Okay, let's go to chapter 10. We only have, how much? No minutes. Okay, well, that's not as much time as I was hoping we had. All right, well, I'm not going to start into it if we're not going to get to it. So we'll try to pick it up next time. Thank you, everybody.